Do you have a dream? Something that you really wish for or desire? Something that you really want to achieve? Or do you think dreaming is only allowed to innocent kids who are not yet scarred by the harsh realities of the human civilization? Why should we dream anyway? Isn't it just a waste of time to unnecessarily imagine scenarios? How do you even justify doing it? But most importantly, what does it even mean to dream? Dream is such a generalized word. It means different things to different people. Let me try to explain what I mean by this word. As I look at it, there are two types of dreams, and they're quite similar even if they might not seem that way at first. One is an abstract, bizarre, or fantastical experience that happens while we sleep, and the other is when we let our imagination flow freely while exploring future possibilities. At some point while thinking about this topic, I got curious about why these two different experiences are represented by the same word. I thought the dreams that we have while we're asleep is just a random collage of our past experiences, and the dreams that we have while we're awake are our future desires. So, why do they share the same name? At first, I thought it was maybe because both of them seem unrealistic. But I did some research and what I found was interesting, at least to me. I won't go into the details of these theories, but I have linked a couple of videos about that in the description below in case you're curious. Scientifically speaking, the exact purpose of the dreams that we have while we're asleep is still not fully understood. But some theories point towards the function of our dreams being consolidating and strengthening memories, practicing problem solving, testing out different scenarios, emotional regulation, remembering important information, and forgetting unnecessary one. However, at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, one thing seems to be pretty clear. We dream because our biology itself seems to care about functioning properly and experiencing a good future. We dream in preparation of a desirable future. And I think the same applies to the dreams that we have in our waking reality. Our past helps us carve out what we don't want. Our present is just what is. And dreaming about our future helps us visualize and shape what we actually want or desire. Dreaming while you're awake is to just play with the possibilities of the future. Is it even possible to do or achieve something without thinking about it first? If you think about it, every single thing that has been created by humans was once just a thought, a dream. We humans are creative beings and we're capable of doing some extraordinary as well as devastating things when we unleash our creativity. In my opinion, the narrative that talks or thinks about dreams being impossible, crazy, or simply a waste of time is just fear-based thinking and limiting beliefs. However, it is also true that dreams have the potential to either be liberating or destructive. I'm not here to talk about morality in this video, so I'll just assume that the kind of dreams we want to have are not destructive. Please. Anything that hasn't been done before or isn't mainstream is risky, and the majority of people just love to label these things as impossible or stupid, don't they? And I don't say this looking down on people who think this way. Chances are they think like that because of their own disappointments, other people dismissing their dreams, or them just not having the vision that you do. The reason I'm even mentioning this is because when majority of people have this kind of thinking, it is very difficult for creative people to be creative. It leads to creatives constantly worrying about the value of what comes naturally to them. And if creative people aren't encouraged to create, how are we ever supposed to evolve as a species? And by creatives, I don't just mean artists. Finding a solution to a problem, executing a solution in a new or different way, or just making things work somehow also requires creativity. We are all inherently creative beings, and unless all you do is mindlessly copy and paste, you are creative as well, regardless of your field. Apparently, there's an unwritten rule of not asking someone about their hopes and dreams after a certain age. The word dream is then replaced by the word plan. And although the word plan in itself isn't a negative word, when we think of future plans, they're almost always supposed to be something stable, secure, and linear, which obviously isn't a bad thing, but it hugely affects people who want to actually dream anything outside the mainstream. Even if you ask someone about their dreams instead of their plans, you'll probably be met with them falling deep into their thoughts or them just telling you what they're already working on or towards, which lies within the bounds of their perceived limitations as their quote unquote dream. Trust me, I have tried. I'm also not saying everyone's like that. I have certainly met a few people who dare to dream and even go after their dreams, but it is quite rare to find such people. Why do we adults have such friction towards the word dream? It is so heartbreaking to me that as we grow older, we're increasingly told by our elders that our dreams are unrealistic, impossible, unlikely, etc. Without any proof or them even actually trying to know why it might be that way. And even if someone has tried something in their past and failed, it says absolutely nothing about our ability to do it or not. Each person is a world of their own after all. What might work for you might not work for someone else, and vice versa. Or, in Einstein's words, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Perhaps the reason why we think of dreams being unrealistic is because we're only allowed to freely dream when we were kids. And you cannot cage or limit a child's imagination. To a child, sitting inside a classroom being forced to remember or learn stuff that he or she doesn't care about doesn't make much sense. Just like they don't understand why the world functions the way it does, and it still happens that way. So, we shouldn't be surprised when their dreams don't make much sense either. Kids just look at something they're interested in and decide that's who they want to become, be it a fairy, pirate, or even a unicorn. They don't have any past experience of people telling them what is possible or impossible. Because they're kids. Everything is possible to them till they grow older and have expectations, limitations, and conditions put onto them. If anything, we all should learn how to dream and learn like a child. There was a point in all of our lives when we couldn't walk. Imagine if half or most of us stopped trying to walk just because we fell on the floor a few times. We would live in a very different world if that was the case. It's not that falling down didn't hurt us when we were kids. We just didn't overthink about it. We cried and moved on from it. The problem only begins when you start to make a story around why you can't do or achieve something. Our mind likes to be correct, and as a result of this tendency, whenever we decide we cannot do or be something, it has a way of causing self-sabotage just so that we can be correct and stay in familiarity. So, it's important to step out of our comfort zone and take risks and chances on ourselves every once in a while. That's how we can expand and break through our own or society's boxes, which definitely feel stable and secure, But they can also very quickly become suffocating and soggy. And you don't want to be stuck inside a soggy box, do you? Trial and error is a part of the process, but you won't even dare to try if you label these errors as failure. And even if it is a failure, you have two options: cry about it and never try again, or you could grieve and then look at the failure as a lesson and try again, maybe on a different thing this time, while still carrying the knowledge you learned from all the previous errors and failure. After all, the only thing more helpful than knowing what to do is to know what not to do. We all make mistakes and we all experience failures in life. But if we want to keep growing and moving forward, the best way to go about it is by being a creator and not a victim of life. Because when you choose to be a victim, you'll find enough excuses to keep you running around in circles, constantly complaining about the reasons why you cannot do or be something. But if you choose to be a creator, those same mistakes and failures actually become a treasure chest filled with possibilities and wisdom. So don't let anything or anyone stop you from dreaming. And don't be scared to dream big. Alright, now let's do a quick experiment. We're going to envision your dream life. I promise it will only take a few minutes. Feel free to pause this video and find a space where you can be comfortable and undisturbed. Find a comfortable position that allows your body to rest, and once you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath and slowly exhale through your mouth with a sigh of relief. Now, I want you to think of the word dream. Notice the visuals that pop inside your mind. Drop all the expectations and limitations of reality. Now, think of your dream. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything to do with monetary gain. It can range from something as simple as gardening to something as extraordinary as sailing across the globe. Just make it your own and allow yourself to live it in this moment. Remember, we're making all this up, so don't limit yourself. You're allowed to dream freely. No one is gonna take a peek inside your head. Notice the emotions and feelings you get while you're living this dream. Who are you as a person in this dream? What does your environment and surroundings look like? How do the people you choose to be around treat and respond to you? How do you treat them? Finally, how do you treat yourself? want you to slowly come back to your body whenever you're ready. Focus on your breath and slowly open your eyes. How do you feel about what you just experienced? Do you feel uplifted, inspired, and energized? Or do you feel unhappy, heartbroken, and unworthy? I just want to let you know that both the ends of these feelings are completely valid and understandable. I promise one isn't above the other. It's just an indicator of where you're at, and it's always easier to go to where you want to when you know where you are in the first place. I'm so happy for you if you feel good, and I completely understand if you don't. Either way, you have my love and support. There's only one reason I can think of for these differing feelings. You get positive feelings when you think your dream is possible, and negative when you think it's impossible. Either way, it's easy to fall into doubt and uncertainty when you're on this journey. I have experienced a lot of these fluctuations myself. At times, it felt like I was swimming against crashing waves, and other times, I was flowing with the current. My intention is to share how I stayed afloat throughout this journey. Keeping my eyes open to my dreams has been one of the most difficult and yet fulfilling things I've ever done. And so, instead of just telling you how to do it, I want to first share my story with you if you'd lend me your ear and keep an open heart. But before getting into it, I just want to let you know that I'm very much aware of the fact that we all have different dreams. So it's completely okay and understandable if you can't relate to mine. I also wanted to mention that I only share my stories with you to provide context and to show you where I'm coming from. I encourage myself to share the difficulties I've been through only to show how ordinarily human I am, and I don't always have everything figured out that anyone else doesn't. I also don't want anyone to feel sorry for my difficult experiences, because I certainly don't. I'm equally thankful for my difficult experiences as my joyful ones, because they have helped me grow so much and become the person I am today. A person I can truly love and accept. And that means the world to me. Okay, now with all the disclaimers out of the way, let's dive into my dreams. Becoming an artist was a dream I had for the longest time. But if I'm being completely honest, that dream didn't stem from a place of love or joy. It stemmed from me feeling unworthy to become anyone else. I had a belief that said I'm incapable of doing or becoming anything or anyone in life. And it mostly came from my struggles in school that I mentioned in my last video. Art and especially craft were the only things I truly looked forward to in school. Not because I was exceptionally good at it or anything, but because I could lose myself in them long enough to temporarily dissolve all the narratives that would constantly plague my mind about how unworthy, stupid, and different I was. On the scale of hookups to marriage, I was somewhere around a fling with art at that point. Even though I felt like myself without any masks while I was creating back then, I still couldn't call myself an artist because I wasn't good at art, whatever that was supposed to mean, because I still don't know what good art means. Anyway, after finishing school, I still found myself holding on to my unfulfilled dream of becoming an artist. And so, I somehow ended up deciding to join a design college. And for that, I had to prepare for entrance exams. Also, a side note, I know design and art are different things, but I didn't really fully understand that at the time. So, by the time I started giving entrance exams, My art skills had gotten pretty decent. I was now in an exclusive relationship with art, but it still wasn't true love. I was infatuated with it. I still couldn't make original art. I thought I was incapable of making original art, and therefore I still couldn't call myself an artist. By the time I started getting my entrance exam results, my deep rooted inadequacy had found its way to me being afraid of not getting into any of the colleges I had applied to. But I was proven wrong and actually got accepted in most of them. Once college started, at first I was still nervous about not being good enough. But I was pretty excited as well, because for the first time ever, I would be learning about something I was actually interested in. First year felt really great. I learnt about so many cool things, and I was no longer the failure I used to be. I was actually one of the toppers in my class, and it gave me some much needed confidence. But just before first year could end, lockdown hit and the world paused. I had briefly tasted some worthiness, and it was now time for me to purge out all my unworthiness. And let me tell you, it was a messy and dark process. But at the start of the lockdown, I was still oblivious to what was about to happen. After a while of isolating, I started becoming desperate to connect with someone who could fill the void I felt within me, which looking back kind of backfired. But I'm still very grateful for it because it was a major turning point for me. Around that time, I had also started making original art and writing for the first time. Two more things that I previously believed I couldn't do. It had lit a spark within my relationship with art. I was starting to let go of expectations about what art was supposed to be, and instead, I just allowed it to flow naturally. The possibilities were endless, and I was now in a renewed relationship with art. And even though I felt all that, I felt like I still wasn't a real artist because I didn't earn any money through it. Right before third year started, I got into a period of feeling really blissful and full of love for life, after feeling empty and sad for a while. That was the start of my self love journey. And then it was time to go back to college offline. And once I went back to the city my college was in, the blissful state lasted for some more days before I had to dive right back into darkness. This time, many of my limiting narratives came up for me to rewrite. I was having to really look at and finally digest all that I had experienced in my past. Distorted stories, starting from my childhood to my teenage, came up that I didn't even remember, which were unknowingly still driving my life. I started gaining clarity about why things were the way they were, and it felt almost as if I had opened my eyes for the very first time. Once my eyes were open, I started getting a lot of information out of thin air. I started understanding how humans work and why we sometimes act in certain ways. At first, I started seeing everything that was wrong with the way humans function and the destructive path we are headed towards. When I went to class, all I saw was how some people would step on others to make themselves feel temporarily superior. I saw how so many of our structures are built on fear and lack. I saw how graphic design was a tool that was used, no, abused to manipulate people's psyche, resulting in us humans consuming more and more, which results in hurting the ecosystems of our beautiful planet. And I wanted no part in any of it. I just didn't have it in me to close my eyes towards all that had been shown to me. So, I isolated myself. I stopped going to college for days on end, and whenever I would force myself to go, that is, if I could, because by this point it had become unbearable for me to be unkind to myself. I was quickly reminded of all the negativity in the world. I had reached such a beautiful, pure, and loving place within myself, and it absolutely broke my heart when I couldn't see that externally. At that time, I also began feeling very creatively restricted by design. I was getting all these amazing ideas and revelations, and I was supposed to do what? Assignments? It became impossible for me to even half heartedly complete any of them. Whenever I attempted to do them, I just couldn't get myself to move my hand, even if I knew what I had to do in my head. Eventually, I just said fuck it and gave up on wanting to finish college, because at that point I had a choice. I could either give up on graphic design or on myself. It was a choiceless choice. I dropped out. Looking back, I feel like I joined a design college not to become a designer but to redesign myself. And I did a great job. I accepted myself. Acceptance doesn't only mean accepting your circumstances, it also means accepting when something is no longer serving you and having the courage to move forward. I no longer see only the negativity in the world. I recognize that everything has a dark and a light side, and we can choose what we want to look at, which absolutely does not mean that we have to close our eyes to the other side. It just means our sight lingers more towards one side than the other. I initially chose design over fine art because I was led to believe that design had more opportunities, code word for money. But even after dropping out, I'm so grateful about choosing design because it really helped shape my worldview. It taught me how to dissect visuals and narratives to make and communicate a story. And I applied all of that onto myself unknowingly, which helped me truly know myself. Also, no offense to any graphic designers out there for what I said about manipulation. I do recognize that when applied with positive intentions, graphic designers can communicate profound messages as well. And I also respect and appreciate the craft. It's just much more powerful than most people realize. And so I think it's important to be mindful of what we're creating and promoting. I'm now at a point where I truly claim being an artist as a part of my identity, even though I don't earn from it. I have always been and always will be an artist. It just took a while for me to realize and truly claim that unapologetically. I feel like my art is a much more real representation of who I am compared to whatever it is that people see when they look at my body. Art is not only how I express my existence but also an extension of myself. So, on the scale of hookups to marriage, art is now an inseparable part of me. I don't make art every single day, but I breathe, think, and see art literally everywhere I go. I 100% recognize my privilege. I'm so blessed to sit comfortably inside my room, make art, and think about things for however long my heart desires. I'm very grateful for my parents' support, and I also understand that not everyone has this kind of privilege. But I genuinely believe there is no excuse good enough to dismiss your true self. Regardless of whether you believe in reincarnation or not, we're all alive in this moment, and no one knows when we'll cease to exist. Won't it be amazing if a generous amount of our life is spent being our real selves? And I'm not saying it's bad to do things to survive. Definitely do that. But in that process, make sure you're tending to the person that you are beneath all the masks and identities as well. It is not our mistake in wanting to survive, but in believing that we do not deserve to thrive. There is one dream I didn't tell you about though. Much before I wanted to become an artist, My earliest dream was actually to be a teacher. I just loved playing pretend to be a teacher as a child. But unfortunately, I had banished that dream for the longest time because I was told by my elders that I had to be very good at studies to become a teacher, and I was not a very good student in school. In my eyes, a teacher used to be this rigid authority figure who was strict, harsh, and told everyone what to do. But in my experience, I have learned the most from people who are, before anything, a great student of life themselves. And one thing I have noticed about such people is that they never force their views or opinions onto anyone, but just share their own unique expression freely and vulnerably. That is the kind of person I strive to be, a good student of life. And if even a single person is able to learn, expand, or feel better about themselves through my expression, that would be my dream come true. My new dream is to positively impact and empower people through my art and my voice. I don't want to grow alone. I want to enable growth in anyone and everyone that chooses to come along this trip that I'm on. Not behind me, but beside me, holding my hand. To be very honest, me finally admitting and sharing my dreams has not been the easiest thing to do, which is a part of the reason why this video has taken so long for me to put out. Being misunderstood, dismissed, or attacked, especially for our dreams, is something we're all scared of, regardless of whether you share yourself on the internet or not. So, I have finally decided. Fuck it, we ball. Just kidding. I'm just done being scared of imaginary projections and reactions of people at this point. If you disagree with or don't like what I have to say, I'm okay with that. I've been hiding and quiet for all my life, and now I'm just ready to be real and share what I have inside me. And that is not to say I'm always going to be right. I'm just a flawed human, like everyone else. So it's likely that I will make mistakes. But I can no longer delay expressing myself in fear of being a flawed human. Now that I've shared my dreams with you, I also want to share a few things I learned along the way that helped me keep my eyes open to my dreams. The points I'm about to share are not linear or rigid rules, but random thoughts and mindsets that have helped me stay afloat on this journey towards my dreams. 1. Know yourself. This one's so important that I'll probably add this point in multiple videos. Being inside your head does not mean you know yourself. A lot of who we think we are is influenced by outside forces. You can only know yourself in the absence of others. It doesn't have to be physical absence, but mental absence is necessary, and physical absence only helps with that. Knowing yourself doesn't mean repeatedly asking yourself, "Who am I?" Instead, just ask yourself what you really think about a certain thing, situation, or person from your daily life, without letting anyone else's thoughts influence your own. Making this a practice will slowly start to reveal your true feelings, thoughts, and values. If you don't find out who you truly are, most people around you will tell you who you are, based on their own limited perception of the version of you they're comfortable being around. 2. Know your why. It's important to put an effort toward knowing why you have a certain dream. This is not at all to rationalize or make sense of the dream, but instead to find out the underlying feeling or emotion that you desire to experience through this dream. Getting to know your why also helps take off pressure, be more flexible, and stay motivated towards your dreams. Let me explain what I mean by that. For example, in my case, I first wanted to become an artist to gain validation. But once I gave myself all the validation in the world, my desire to create didn't automatically disappear. So, that could only mean that validation was never my real why. I then had to ask myself, why do I really like making art? And I found out I like creating art because it makes me feel like a child full of curiosity and excitement for exploration. So, that was my true motivation behind being an artist. Now, you might think, how does that help with taking off pressure and being flexible? So, let me explain. Once you know the feeling you're seeking, it becomes easy to find the same feeling within other activities as well. So, when I knew my why, I was able to find the same curiosity and exploration in other activities as well, like writing, for example. Having more outlets really allowed me to not depend only on making art to feel fulfilled. That way, it was a pleasure to make art instead of pressure. 3. Take inspired action. We all live in our own delusions. But one delusion to steer away from is expecting your dreams will just be handed to you without you putting in any efforts. Actions do speak louder than words, so it's important to take inspired action whenever you can towards your dream, no matter how little. If time is an issue, just start with less and do more whenever it is possible for you. And if motivation is an issue, start with baby steps. Slowly build momentum, and then after a while, it will become effortless to start. It is also important to keep in mind that motivation is only required to start something. There are times when you might get bored of something you're working towards, and that is when it's important to build discipline. The most important thing is to actually start. Don't be scared of failures or mistakes, because they are the ones that guide you towards success. 4. Listen to your heart. What does this even mean? Our heart obviously does not create thoughts or emotions, but different rhythms of our heartbeats can easily indicate how we feel, which is why this organ is often associated with feeling. When people say listen to your heart, it is a metaphor for making choices based on feeling instead of thinking. This also does not mean that you should give in to your temporary pleasures and just stop thinking. But instead, it means to ask yourself how you would feel in the future about making a certain choice. Other people's thoughts are easily able to manipulate our own thoughts and feelings. But when you zoom out, silence the chatter inside your mind, and really ask yourself how you feel about a choice, things tend to become clear. So, listening to your heart doesn't mean you should stop thinking, but instead think for yourself based on how you feel without other people's thoughts influencing your own. 5. Validate yourself. Gaining validation for your dreams from your loved ones is great, but sometimes when others can't see our vision, they can knowingly or unknowingly demotivate us. And even if they don't, validating yourself first and foremost is very helpful in staying on track with your dreams. I would encourage you to only share your dreams with people once you really know your why and can move forward even if everyone dismisses or disagrees with your dreams. That is, of course, not to say don't listen to your loved ones' advice. They might even help and guide you, but just be discerning about who you listen to and how that advice feels in your body. When you've actually validated yourself, it really makes the periods of doubt easier to move through. Validating yourself also doesn't mean being stubbornly stuck to only one single path or outcome. Recognize when you need to shift and transform yourself or your dreams for the better. 6. When in doubt. I've personally found it best to take a break Slow down and be around nature whenever doubt bubbles up. You can find your own way to become still. There are many different reasons why doubt can show up. So, what I do first is ask myself where it is stemming from. At times, it is easy to fall into doubt when you're comparing your progress with someone else's. Remember, you do not know what someone has gone through to be where they are. No one is out there sharing their mistakes and failures. Another reason why doubt can show up is when you have a big or even a medium sized dream and you feel overwhelmed by the lack of progress or clarity and start doubting your capability to ever see it through. When that happens, go back to your why. You are not going after your dreams to prove anything to anyone, but simply to be more of yourself. Once you realign with your true intentions, you'll be more open to make mistakes without having to doubt yourself. After all, creation requires experimentation to reach its highest potential. The third most common reason for doubt to come up that I've noticed is through other people's projections, which doesn't even require words to hit. Language is a very small part of communication. And even though we might not consciously realize it, we're always communicating with each other through non-verbal communication. This includes expressions, body language, eye contact, tones in which something is spoken, etc. So, to really move through doubt that is projected from the outside, I found it really important to time and again validate myself and get back to my why. 7. Practice gratitude. Gratitude has been one of the most important and powerful practices that I've adopted in my life. It really has a way of shifting any negative mindset to a positive one. Gratitude is not settling for less or plainly repeating affirmations in your head. It is to recognize the beauty, love, and joy that is already present all around so that we can train our mind to see the bright side and ultimately feel better in that process. It is always good to let ourselves feel the whole spectrum of emotions, but taking just a moment to be grateful about something while you're stuck in a negative loop has the power to change everything. We all have past traumas. We all have problems in our lives. We all desire more. But sometimes we can get too used to only looking at what's lacking in our lives, which can create a pressure to fulfill our dreams. Why do we even dream? Is it to reach a certain place of perfection or just to feel good? We usually think of gratitude as something that we experience once we're happy, and that is true in a way, but the opposite is true as well. When we're grateful, we automatically become more happy. And it is when we're happy that expressing ourselves comes naturally to us because it is so widely accepted to express ourselves positively, which can act as an amazing motivation to take action towards your dreams. Not looking to reach a destination, but just being happy to be on the journey. Practicing gratitude doesn't just look like saying it's such a beautiful day, but instead describing what is so beautiful about it. When you really pay attention, you might find you really liked how vibrant and blue the sky looked, or how the temperature and the wind on your skin felt so soothing to your nervous system, or even just how the sunlight hit the water so beautifully that it danced. Also, make sure to be grateful towards yourself for how far you've come. Slow down and recognize the dreams of your past self that you're already living. The part of us that is open to dream freely can feel fragile and soft, so we can end up locking that part of ourselves to never see the light of the day. But when we allow that part to come out and play freely while also protecting it, is when our dreams truly have the potential to mature beautifully and change our lives. And please don't misunderstand what I said. Yes, dreams, when fulfilled, can change our life, but it does not happen when the dream comes true. Instead, it is when you change your mindset and life internally that your dreams start becoming alive. You will stay the same person once your dreams come true, but it is the process of dreaming that will change you as a person. Before finishing off, I want to share a quote by Vincent van Gogh that is very close to my heart. What am I in the eyes of most people? A non-entity, an eccentric or an unpleasant person, somebody who has no position in society and never will have. In short, the lowest of the low. Alright then, even if that were absolutely true, then I should one day like to show by my work what such an eccentric, such a nobody has in his heart. I know this video has been a long one, so thank you so much for sticking around. I request you to be kind and loving towards yourself, and don't be afraid to dream big, bold, and be yourself unapologetically, because you deserve to. If this video has impacted you in any way, feel free to tell me how in the comment section. And I would really appreciate it if you shared this video with your friends or on any social media platforms so that more people can join us on this journey. Thank you so much for coming on this art trip with me, and I'll see you in the next one.